Hey guys, this is Hunter Levine, and thanks for checking out the Captain's Collective podcast, brought to you by Skinny Water Culture, Yeti Coolers, Turtle Box Audio, Florida Fishing Products, and the Drifter Fish Club. In today's episode, we have one of our own Drifter members, Samantha Tallyn, hopping on the podcast to share about her work with the FFI Fly Fishing International initiative called Women Connect. In this podcast, Samantha talks about her own story in getting into fly fishing, what some of the challenges have been and some of the most helpful things, as well as what Women's Connect is doing to help connect women all around the world to the sport of fly fishing. We hope you guys enjoy. All right. Well, hey, Sam, thanks for hanging out and joining me on the podcast. Excited for today. We've been talking for a while because you were the first female to sign up for Drifter Fish Club. And that was back in December at the Skinny Water Culture Christmas party. And
Yes.
I got to know your husband, Wes, who is writing a really cool book on birds and different species of animal. Is it all focused in Florida or?
Yes, so it's all
Okay.
focused in species that you can pretty much only find in Florida.
Yeah, so I just, like, as soon as I got the chance to meet you guys, like, I was like, man, this is a really cool couple. And then I found out too, like, Vince came to me whenever, with the membership, and he's like, Sam's doing stuff with FFI, like Women's Connect. I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is perfect. And I'm really excited to talk about just a little bit about what you're getting to do with FFI and Women's Connect. And I'm really grateful for sitting down here in St. Petersburg, Florida, where you currently live. Mm-hmm. And it's windy, of course, because it's been the windiest, spring of my lifetime in
Yes.
Florida. But it's a beautiful day. Had the fly fishing film tour last night, which was really cool. And just grateful that you carve out a little bit of time during your day, during your normal job hours, to sit down and be a part of the podcast. So thank you.
No, yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell us just a little bit about, what you're currently doing with FFI and kind of how you got connected to the organization. Because a lot of people, they might not even know what FFI is. So, like, what is it? What are you doing? How did you get connected?
Right, so FFI stands for Fly Fishers International. We actually got connected through our affiliated local club with FFI. So FFI is, of course, we're all over, and then we do have local chapters and councils all throughout. And then with FFI, I got connected with Women Connect as well. So I found out about that group through FFI and the local chapter.
And with that particular group, my understanding is you guys are working to try to help introduce and educate and, integrate, I don't know what the right terminology is, but people to the sport of fly fishing. And that's been, the history of fly fishing is filled with Joanne Wolf and tons of, there's maybe not tons, but a good sized list of females who have done really influential things within the sport of fishing and fly fishing. But what's the main goal? Is it to help new anglers? Is it what's kind of the mission statement?
So for us, our mission statement is really to create a community for women fly fishers, and to share information, to have the opportunity to improve their fly fishing skills, and just to kind of have that community and that support, and also too to really encourage leadership roles. So whether that's within FFI Women Connect, FFI, local chapters, or just in the fly fishing industry as a whole.
And for you, what was your story of getting into fly fishing?
So for me, I actually got into it through my husband. So I grew up fishing and pretty much did the spinner rods all my life. And then he started fly tying with a local fly fishing shop here in St. Petersburg, and then got into the fly fishing that way. And then I tried it out one time with him and just fell in love with it.
And for you, like, people have different experiences kind of entering the fly fishing world, the community. I kind of think the word community can be a little extreme or overused sometimes, but like the fly fishing world, like for me, like I've met a lot of people who have had everything from I had a really warm, amazing experience to like I felt, like I didn't fit in and I didn't belong. Like I've heard so many different stories about what people, what their journey has been like getting connected. And a lot of times I think it just has to do with like the people on the ground in the city, the fly shop, whatever it may be. For you, was that a really warm beginning? What's your experience been like there?
So for me, it was. We had a couple people here locally that were really supportive, very knowledgeable. So they were very supportive and just helping us out with our skills and teaching us and giving us tips. So that and a lot of them were, they were kind of all throughout the community. So it was, both women both women and male that were helping us out.
And was that here in St. Petersburg?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I love this community here. I mean, I talked about this last night at the fly fishing film tour, but like the greater Tampa Bay area, does St. Petersburg consider themselves Tampa?
We do. Yeah. I mean, it's we all kind of consider ourselves Tampa Bay. Yeah.
But like this community is amazing. Like I really, I've been able to be around a lot of different groups, and like there's just a lot of good folks who put aside differences, and I think there's just a high number of people down here who love the water, and then on top of that there's a lot of great fly shops and outfitters and organizations like the Tampa Bay Waterkeeper that are good at bringing people together for events to just have fun, so their interactions aren't just boat to boat on the water. And I've been really impressed. What do you hear from like a lot of the women who are getting connected to Women Connect? What are you hearing as like the common theme of maybe what they're looking for, what they're struggling with? What do you guys feel like you see the most?
So I think probably what we see the most is just getting the information out there. I think for a lot of just women anglers in general, we can tend to be a little spread out. So kind of getting the information out there, letting them know what events that are there in their area so they can attend, the webinars, the resources that are available to them. So kind of providing all that support and really bringing the information to them. Yeah,
you were telling me 2 nights ago you guys had a webinar with over 100 women anglers on it, which I thought that's a great number of people to be on a webinar. Like,
yes.
Especially in the back end of COVID, people had so many. I think like I still get, with Drifter, we'll do the monthly calls and stuff, and it's like I still have a little aversion to webinars and video stuff just because of, the whole world seemed to be going in that direction. And getting 100 people, I mean, that's a lot of folks who want to connect and want to meet each other and learn. Tell us about, like, what do those calls look like?
Yeah, so we always do the calls with a fishing topic, of course, and it's usually for education purposes. So a lot of times we'll have a panel discussion or a presenter, and then we always encourage like the audience participation. So sometimes when you're doing a Zoom or Teams call, you can't say, it won't let you say anything. And so we do have it where you can interact back and ask the questions. And we have women from all over. So on the call that we had on Tuesday night, we had a couple that had mentioned they were actually joining from Australia.
Wow.
So it's all over, which is nice too, because it's, no matter where you go, you could probably find that community.
And those webinars in particular, you're saying that you guys are very education focused there. I mean, do you guys do events outside of the webinars? I know you guys have a tournament coming up. Like
we do. So we do events outside of the webinars. Here in St. Petersburg, for our local area, we do have a women's fly fishing tournament that's coming up September 13th. And it'll be our second annual one. And then we have, with FFI Women Connect, each council has a liaison that works with them for the women events. So the liaisons will plan the women events in their areas as well. So we have a lot of different events that are coming up all over, really.
Yeah.
Especially with June is going to be International Women's Fly Fishing Month. So we're going to have a lot of events in different areas for that. And then we also have, starting June 1st, for FFI Women Connect, we have a photo contest. So we have where women anglers, they can submit their best fishing photos in different categories and be, entered for raffle prizes.
And how long have you been working with FFI or been a part of that community?
So I'm new to FFI and FFI Women Connect. So I joined the FFI Women Connect board back at the end of last year.
Okay.
And then I've been a part of our local chapter in FFI for a couple years now.
Okay. And do you feel like if somebody was, you've met my daughters. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, right? And my 8-year-old ties flies now, so she thinks that she's the, the next Bass Pro Shop.
I saw the fish you caught with one.
Yeah, we caught some bonefish on them. And what's so great, I mean, I know you were at the event where they won the painting from Off the Grid John, and their experience. They're gonna have a different experience than I think a lot of people who maybe entered fishing 10, 15 years ago had, because they do get a chance to meet, like, oh, this lady's a guide, or this lady does travel fishing trips too. And it's more normalized, I think, from their experience to be like, oh, wow, like there's a spot for me if I choose to do this. Because I don't really care if my kids get into fly fishing or not. Like, I don't push fly tying on Ezzy. That was actually, that event back in December is when she first actually tied her first fly. Like, I don't force them, like, come on, everyone sit down and do this for a video or something.
And, I just want them to know, hey, if this is a route that you want to go, you can. And it's cool that you guys are kind of creating inroads for people to have community and have people to talk to. I mean, what do you feel like is the secret sauce of trying to build a large community like that? Like, what do you guys feel like the greatest value adds? Just not just education, because obviously you can go learn how to tie knots, you can learn how to cast, on YouTube, but what do you feel like is really propelling the whole thing for Women's Connect?
I think for me, probably what's really propelling it is creating the relationships with the women. So it, again, kind of going back to that community. But, I think for a lot of women, when they get into the fly fishing, we do love the sport. We love the technique. We love the skills part of it, the chance to always be working and improving something. But I think a lot of it too is the people that you meet, the places they can take you.
Definitely, yeah.
So I think that's, that's something that's really big that I think draw, women to it is just kind of having the relationships. And
did you feel like for you had a lady that invested in you, or what was your experience like from like a mentor standpoint? Because I know that's everybody that I've been really impressed how many people I've met that are really successful in the industry and really love and prioritize mentoring younger people. Like, people have been really good to me. Like, if I need to call and ask for a question, or, will invite me to even sometimes, hey, would you like to go fish with me? And I learn a lot from them. You've been very open, like mentor-like figures. For you, did you have that? Was that something that you found easily down here, or was that something that was a little more of a challenge?
So I did have that. So I would say for me, it was something that I did find easily down here. And it was both with women and both men too. So I did have some men, I mentioned here that with the local fly fishing shops, they were really great. And they were really supportive too. We would go and tie with them on their nights, and, all the men that were there were really supportive. And then also some of the women too. I got a chance to fish with Christina with the Chica fly. Yeah, so she was great, and taught me a lot on the charters. And then I actually brought a friend the very first time on one of her charters, and it was her first time fly fishing, and she caught her first snook, and now she's hooked. She fly fishes now.
she's great. I did a podcast with her last year and got a chance to fish with her and Jeff, and they're both great coaches and really fun to be around. And she also has like a passion, I think, for she focuses on female clients, which I can understand why people can feel different ways about that. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm cutting off a big population of people, or I don't want to be in a niche. And then I can also see there being really great opportunities to create experiences or environments that are more welcoming or warm or tailored to maybe what that clientele is looking for. For FFI, you said that you guys do tournaments too, because I know my oldest daughter, you invited her to be a part of the tournament here. Tell us just a little bit about that, because I think that seems like a great way too. I mean, the webinar is cool, but meeting people online is always, it's always different than when you actually get to sit down and spend some time with them. What's y'all's tournament about?
Right. So our tournament, and this is through our affiliated local chapter, which is the Suncoast Fly Fishers. So this is our Lady Fly tournament, and as I mentioned, it's our second annual one, and the proceeds do go to charity. So we do have some of the raffle proceeds that go to Tampa Bay Waterkeepers, and then we do have other proceeds that go to our scholarship fund.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Like the scholarship fund. Talk to me a little bit about that. Like, you guys are helping create opportunities and providing some financial resources to get ladies out on the water. Is that what you guys are doing? So
these are actually for students. So and both of our students that won the scholarship at the end of last year were both female.
Okay,
but
cool.
we do
like
look
college
at
students.
College students,
okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Yeah. So and a lot of times the degree it's based in some type of environmental or marine or biology, something like that.
And with FFI, I know it's one of the largest organizations of its kind. How many people roughly are you guys currently at with the Women's Connect? Because if you have 100 on the call, I'm guessing you guys have a couple hundred people active in the organization. I mean, that's a lot. Is that fair to say? A couple hundred? Do you know the exact number? Or?
I don't know the exact number.
Okay.
Yeah, because we were updating some of our numbers, but yes, we do have a very large following, and we keep growing every day.
Yeah. What advice? Because one of the cool things about what you do is you get a chance to you know, you're fortunate enough to be in this community, which are just a lot of great captains, a lot of great anglers,
Yeah.
a lot of great organizations and shops and outfitters. But like, what consistent challenges do you hear people talk about, you know, that kind of come up from time to time that, you know, as somebody who's a little further in your journey, like what consistent things do you hear people bring up?
When you say like challenges, just like with fly fishing?
Yeah,
or-
like
yeah.
like ladies who are entering fly fishing or getting into fly fishing, like what are the things that you feel like they encounter the most, like challenges, and what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe a female listening to this, or maybe somebody has a friend who's a female angler or wants to get into fly fishing, but you know, what type of challenges are up front for them that you see?
Well, I would say because we held some women events last year that taught fly tying and fly casting. And we actually, so with Jackie and Bob Klauser, they've actually started doing a lot of fly fishing schools, and one that are for women only.
Oh, very cool.
So that's great. That's one thing I would say, you know, if they're wanting to do something that's just women only, there are some resources out there. But what I mostly hear is just how to get started. You know, a lot of times they just don't know how to get started with things. And, you know, as I mentioned, we've had a lot of support here in this community. So even just going to your local fly shop and starting that conversation there with them, you know, a lot of times you're going to find them to be very supportive and very helpful, you know, in helping you kind of get started on that. And again, you know, looking at the resources and events to start learning and improving your skills and finding that community. But also too, I would tell women, it's, you know, your first time, you're not going to learn everything. So, you know, it's like nobody gets it all the first time. So, you know, it's okay if there's mistakes made and things that need to be proved upon. That goes for everybody.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because speaking in generalities, of course, with my disclaimer there, like I've had multiple guides say that they actually feel like when they have female clients that they learn quicker. Like, and it's like, I think it's just a little bit of the stereotype, but there's a little truth in some generalities sometimes. And I think sometimes men can be stubborn, you know, or, you know, kind of have some sort of alpha mindset. You don't tell me what to do. I'm, you know, that type of thing. And some of the, I mean, I've seen some ladies cast and I'm just like, it's like some of the best casting I've ever seen, you know, like it's, you know, it's one of those things that I think is probably intimidating the outside looking into a lot of women, I would imagine, but the actual, like what it takes to tie flies and make cast and go on travel trips and a lot of that, it's not like you need to be, you know, 6'4" and can bench press 280 pounds, you
right,
know, to make a cast or something like that. But I think like you're removing those intimidations, which I'm really grateful for. You know, my daughter's, there's a lady, Danielle, that owns a fly shop in Apalachicola. And, you know,
I'm going to be fishing with her in May.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then, you know, like that my daughters know you, they know a few other figures across, like I used to bring them to ICAST, and it's, I think, becoming a little more welcoming. For you personally, I know you and Wes are going to the Bahamas with Drifter. Do you have like let's kind of zero in on your own journey. So you're giving back, you're participating in FFI, and that's a volunteer position, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're doing that because you care about it and you believe in it. But what are you hoping to grow in where you're at in your journey now? Is it more travel? Is it, what are you guys hoping for?
So for me, it's travel. That's what I kind of mentioned earlier, some of the places fly fishing can take you, but also too working on my skills as well. So FFI, they do offer the casting certification programs. I plan to do that this summer. To get certified, so that way I'll have that and you know, for my events and everything.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier because I want to do it too. I want to do a podcast on it. And it's a lot of work. I mean, it's, you got to put in time. And you were saying that, you know, you have to go before a master. They have a title for it, master certification.
Yeah,
and you know, I mean, they take it serious, but it's a really, you know, a really cool program, I think, to like get people that next level. And I'm excited for you to do it. You'll probably, you know, do it and finish it before I figure out how I'm going to do it, but I could use it. I promise you that. But I think that'll be really, really cool. And then for you, like, you know, just kind of turning the page a little bit towards, you know, the future of the sport with fishing. Like, what do you hope to see Women's Connect, like what would success look like 5 years from now? You know, like if we were sitting down talking about Women's Connect 5 years from now, what would you really be excited to see accomplished the next couple of years?
I would really say to continue expanding on what we're doing. So to continue to expand the audience for our events and our webinars, just getting more women involved in fly fishing. And I would say getting more women involved in the leadership roles. So whether, again, like I said, whether that's affiliated clubs, fishing clubs, or just the fly fishing industry. We've had some liaisons that I've talked with and worked with, and some of them have gone and started their own nonprofit fly fishing that's geared toward, a certain cause that they're really passionate about, like veterans or youth or something like that. So I think, giving women that platform and that confidence that they might even, kind of branch out and do something on their own would be something I'd love to see more of.
Yeah, I feel like the future of small clubs, and there's so many tournaments and events that I've gone to the past few years that I just feel like are alive and growing. Sometimes you go to an event or something and you feel like, I don't know if this is alive. Like this is, I might be on the back end, but I've been to some really cool club gatherings and some really cool events across the Southeast in particular, where like they feel like they're thriving and people are craving community. And I think we're even seeing that in Drifter. Like people they don't just want to travel and they don't just want to fish locally. Like they want to have friendships that span the course of years and years and years and have that rootedness. I think that a lot of people lost on the back end of COVID.
Right. Yeah.
Where maybe they weren't spending as much time with people that, they depend on where they lived and kind of how they approached it and everything. So yeah, I think lots of events and clubs, and I think it's kind of a snowball, as more people do it and share. And I've heard that you're great at events. So Vince told me you're great at events, and obviously
I try.
Obviously, there's lots of people doing great things that can share, like, hey, like I'm hosting a tournament. If you're interested in doing something similar, like here's what that looks like. And
exactly.
When you look back at, like, I would imagine approaching something like signing up and saying I'm going to do FFI, you're like, I know you enough to know you're a thoughtful, kind of intentional person. You're not I just jumped the gun on something. Like, was there a moment for you though when you were kind of checking it out that like was kind of like the meaningful I'm in moment, or like a story or a situation that really like won you over to wanting to go so all in that direction?
I would say it really had to do, because there was a letter that came out from our president not too long ago, and he said he was asked by somebody, like, what is FFI's purpose? Like, what do you guys do? And he said he thought about it for a minute, and he said to teach. And and I think that was a really big part for me, was the teaching and the education and the support and the conservation too. So they they bring all of that into focus, and with youth, and there's just so many good programs that they have, and ones that I find really important, and I would like to help them to continue to grow those.
And that's definitely the reputation that they have, like, of from the casting instruction and things, that that they're good at educating people and teaching people. What things have you learned about teaching since you've been a part of it? Do you feel like it's made you a better teacher, like, and that you've picked up stuff that you can kind of pass on?
I would definitely say so. So I think one thing that I've learned is everybody learns differently. So and there could be one technique that works for somebody, but it's harder for somebody else. I'll use myself as that example. One thing for me that I had to try to master was the double haul.
Yep.
And of course I had, my husband was trying to teach me it, and, I had some others that were trying to teach me it, and I was kind of getting it, not quite. But then I did go to Jackie and Bob's fly fishing school that I mentioned back in January. And, Bob showed me kind of a real simple technique with it. And I just told him, I was like, okay, that's what I needed.
Can you describe? I know we're on a podcast, but what clicked for you? Because I'm always like, when I talk to Jeff Legucki, he was talking about, like, sometimes he'll explain things multiple ways, and he'll just randomly, like, that third way, that second way, like you're saying the same thing, but it's like that's the thing that clicked. Like for you, what on the double haul? Because I know a lot of people that need the double haul to click for them to have some success. And like we were in Ishkalak, it's like if it's blowing 15 or 20 knots, they're like, oh, what a day, like this is epic so what helped you with that? Like, was it the hands-on, or what was the what he had what he told me, what he had showed me, which helped, is the way that I was kind of being taught, and this again, like, where everybody's different, is my husband has longer arms than I do. So of course I had the first part down, but then when I would bring it forward, that's where I was struggling. And part of it was because in trying to learn from him, he's reaching way far up on the rod to bring down that line.
And that's the part that I was struggling with. But when I went to the fly fishing school and I was working with Bob, like he showed me, you don't have to reach that far up. You know, that's what he's telling me. He's like, you don't have to reach that far up. You can go, you know, he showed me like a spot. He's like, you can go right here. You pull the line this way as you go forward, and you're going to get the same result. Yeah. And that's what clicked, because I even told him that. And I was like, okay, I kept being told, like, you know, not told, but, you know, shown, like, okay, you're reaching way up here.
Yeah. This like big kind of reach up high. I've seen people that like, they're like, they get real small when they cast. Like they, you know, get real tight, everything. Their elbows are real tight and in, and they're hauling real low, you know, like almost below the belly button. They're all down there, and they're like a little sniper, you know.
Right,
and, you know, and then I've seen people like you said, which is like, I always feel like, and this is just probably just me personally, but it's like doing like going up high and doing a big old pull from like up high just feels like a hero moment, you know, like just like you feel like a superhero. You're like, oh, you know, you feel more athletic. And so those schools, so is that like an overnight, or how did those schools work? Because I know Orvis has fly fishing schools, and you know, I've seen people that do hosted travel that's more of a school setup, but how do they set the actual school up?
So the schools are usually just a full day.
Okay.
And the ones we went to, it was in Orlando, and I know they've had some before were in Melbourne where they live, but they're usually just a full day. They'll start off with the casting in the morning, and they'll teach you how to tie all kinds of different knots, and then they'll go through some of the fly tying. So it's really a full workshop, because they'll teach you pretty much everything you need to know.
Yeah, I'll have to check one of those out. I think it'd be fun. I know, like I've enjoyed watching people do casting lessons, and like everybody's different from the way they talk about it, and then like little nuanced things, you know, like fun little things that, like, you know, maybe you're like, that works for them, but I feel like that doesn't feel right for me, and you pick up all those things.
Right.
And I think that's part of what's fun, is like the learning is fun, and if you can settle into wherever you're at in your journey, like, you know, the people who I think enjoy the trips that I've been on the most are the people who are the most honest and accepting with where they're at. Like they're like, you know, I got a lot to learn, but you know, like they're not constantly disappointing themselves. They're just accepting of where they're at, trying to not put too much pressure on themselves, improving one bit at a time.
And we do too, because we've gone out with Court. I think you know Court before too.
Court's awesome.
We've gone out with him several times too, and he's been helpful on that side too. And I'll always ask him too, like, could I do something different, or you know, he'll kind of give the tips, and you know, and it's in a way that it's easy for me to understand.
Speaking of long
follow.
arms, though, Court probably like starts his double haul at the halfway point of the rod. You know, he's like he's a really long-armed guy, if you guys don't know him. But yeah, Court's a great teacher too, and like a really fun figure in the Tampa Bay scene, you know.
He's been very helpful to both me and my husband when we go out with him. Very helpful.
One of the things, like, you know, we're talking about getting people into the sport, you know, male, women, whatever, is, you know, what you gain from it. Because, you know, for so many people, like, I feel so connected to nature. You know, I love talking to Wes about birds, your husband, because he's an expert in birds, and you know, I'm pre-bird journey. You know, Vince DeGura is full bird journey. It seems like a lot of people in their outdoor world get at a point where you wake up one day and you're like, okay, birds are cool, and I'm into them now. But you know, like, I feel more connected to nature, and I feel like I need that in our world today. But like, what would you say to maybe somebody who isn't like saying, hey, I know I want to get into fly fishing, can you teach me? What would you say to somebody who maybe is like looking for something in their life to, you know, to enjoy and to fall in love with and connect with nature? Like, how would you pitch it to maybe a woman who hasn't even considered fly fishing? What do you think people gain from it?
I think when you're looking at for the outdoor perspective on it, it's, you know, when you can get outdoors and you just kind of have that peace and the quietness, it can almost be like a meditation. You know, a lot of times when I'm out there fishing, you just kind of get in the zone. You're not thinking about anything else. It can be a really nice break from the hustle, you know, especially, you know, we're all busy, you know, we all have stuff going on. So when you kind of take that break and you kind of feel like you kind of really relax and enjoy what's around you, and, you know, the sounds and the sights and everything. No,
you use the word meditation. I'm trying to think if, you know, like, I've actually started using Headspace some, and like we use it for my kids. And like I'm very bad at meditating, I can say that. But that idea, I'm trying to think if anybody's used that, but that's very much is what it is, because it's a way to be present in the moment. And like one of the things that I've tried to work on is, you have something like a thought come, and then you try to acknowledge that, but not dwell on it, and let it pass by. And the way that one of the ways that it clicked for me was imagine that you're sitting on the side of a hill and you're looking at a road with all these cars, and you're observing the cars, but you're letting them pass.
Right.
And to that's what, being present in that meditation is, allowing those thoughts to come and go without getting consumed by them, versus running out in the middle of the street and trying to stop all the traffic. And I think just thinking about what you're saying about in, a world where we're realizing we actually need to be more present, we have so much stuff vying for our attention, the way that when I have a thought come, an intrusive thought or an anxiety, and the next thing you know, fish at 1 o'clock, and then whoop, it's gone.
Right.
So it's almost you don't have, when you're laying there trying to do it, it's a lot harder. But when you're standing on the front of a boat and you're actively looking and searching and making shots, that's a great word to use for it. It's it's a form of meditation, because
it's kind of forcing you to be present and to be there.
Yeah, because if you're not present, then the guide's going to get really upset, and you're going to be really disappointed. But and I think a lot of people are talking more about just anxiety, and I think there's a book called Last Child in the Woods, which is one of my favorite reads of the past couple of years, and he talks about nature deficit disorder. It's a generation that doesn't have a relationship with the outside world, and how the effects of that. That I'm sure there's a lot of women, especially when I brought my kids to St. Petersburg, I was like, this is the city. This is the big city life, to them. But maybe that they haven't found that space for them to get outside of their routine and connect. And I think that's a really good thought on that. And I hope that down over the years we can just watch Women's Connect just grow. And I hope my daughter's is there an age that you have to be to enter it? What does it look like to enter it? I should ask that.
So there's no age limit.
Okay.
So you do have to be a member of FFI, and then you can have the access to Women Connect.
What's the process of becoming FFI? Is that an annual fee, or what's
It's an annual fee, and like most memberships, you can do individual, family. And,
okay, cool. But we don't have family on Drifter yet. So you guys have two individual, but we need to have the family plan. But it's been really good just to hear about it. I'm excited to just to watch your journey in that, what you're trying to do with it grow. And if people want to, maybe they want to be a part of the tournament that you have coming up, registration's open for that, correct? How long is that open for?
It is. So registration will be open. The date for the tournament, September 13th, and the week of is pretty much when registration will close.
Okay.
But you can register on the local chapter's website, which is suncoastflyfishers.com. There's also the calendar invite listing for it on FFI and FFI Women Connect. And then we have an Instagram and Facebook for the Suncoast Fly Fishers.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to put links in the podcast, in the episode description, so that people can go check that out. But thank you so much for the time. It's been really cool to get a chance to learn just a little bit more about it. And I know when we met back in December, I honestly wasn't super aware of it, and when I started to learn more about it, just talking to you, I was really pumped to hear what you guys were doing, and honestly how far in that journey you guys are. You guys have accomplished a lot, so hopefully you guys are really proud of that, and grateful for the time, and excited to I'm sure I'll see you before we're in the Bahamas, but excited to fish the Bahamas too, and maybe you'll have your master certification done before then.
Maybe
that'd be a good time to do it pre Bahama permit and bonefish shots in the wind, of course. So,
right.
but thank you for the time, Sam.
Oh, thank you so much.